Hey guys, my name is Pierre. I'm an on-set visual effects technician on shows like Star Trek Strange New Worlds, as well as Gen V on Amazon Prime. I'm also a producer, and on this channel, I talk all about producing and executive producing indie movies and how to use the tools that we have available to us today to make the most of it and produce a great movie. I'm making a sci-fi action feature-length movie, and some of the locations that I'm going to be shooting at for this movie is going to be located in U.S. Armed Forces installations using U.S. Armed Forces assets and personnel. Behind me here is an email, and I'm this close to confirming it with different agencies within the armed forces. In my previous video, I talked about the importance of booking a AAA premium location that you're gonna need for your feature movie, where it'll increase the production value of your movie, where you'll be able to make much more money with your indie movie if you have a premium location like that. So if you're making a content or some kind of movie that has to do with the action genre, you're gonna love this video. This video is for you. And the reason why is because I'm gonna tell you how to book locations that are out of this world. People won't believe you if you told them. I'm talking about one of the 6 sectors that has to do with the US Armed Forces. That's Air Force, Army, Marine Corps, Space Force, Coast Guard, and Navy. If you were to book any one of these locations and you make use of the installations, the assets, and the personnel, your movie just went through the roof. It's like you're making a Michael Bay movie minus the explosions. But still, there's a lot you can do with that. People are gonna look at your movie and they're gonna think you're already big time, or they're gonna wanna hire you because they're gonna think you're big time. Not only are you gonna be able to sell your movie to a bigger distributor, to a bigger streamer for more money, but you'll also be able to sell it directly to consumers depending on what business model you choose when it comes to your distribution. If you're doing TVOD, like transactional video on demand, you'll be able to target people directly that love action movies, and you show all these wonderful locations in fast cuts in the trailer, on the movie, on social media. You'll be able to drive traffic to your page, to your TVOD distributor or your platform or your streamer, whatever it is, and you'll be able to make millions of dollars, all because you had some premium, really good locations in your trailer. People are gonna think you're really rich to begin with, and then you're gonna say, no, I just got really great producing skills. So without further ado, let's get to it. So here's the 3 or 4 requirements that these agencies require, especially the Air Force as well as the US Navy. The first one is $1 million production insurance. That's not hard to do. It's just a matter of calling somebody up. You get it for specific dates. Usually it's like $300. I think at most it's like a couple $1,000s. It's not a big deal. You can get that. So the other major requirement to get into any of these armed forces branches is that your story itself has to have relevant tie-ins to the actual major branch itself. So if you're making a movie that has to do with an aircraft carrier, then the Navy will see, yeah, okay, that's relevant. Same thing if you're producing something that has to do with planes or wings or tarmacs or AI that flies, that you can contact the Air Force for, and that's relevant. Same thing with Coast Guard or Army or whatever it might be. So it has to have legitimate tie-ins. You can't just go and use their equipment and then label it as a different country or whatever it is. So they want to show that it's American and that you're projecting power. You're using all the resources, and that's why they want you, and that's why they're going to allow you to do this. The second last thing is it has to be fully funded, and there's ways to do that of actually getting your budget down. So if you were able to get your own equity, other people's private equity, or tax credits, and somehow show that you have the money, bank statements, it could be retirement bank statements. It doesn't really mean you have to pull that money out and spend it in front of them. You just have to show that you have the money to make the movie. Because if you're going to go and use one of their installations, like myself, I budgeted about between $20,000, roughly around $20,000 for close to a week of shooting for a cast of 12 and a crew of about 12 or 15 to pay for transport, lodging, food, as well as the salaries and the equipment that we need. So yes, I would have to spend that $25,000, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to spend the other $125,000 the rest of the movie. So all you got to do is come up with those financial statements that shows that you have the money. And if you only have $75,000 and your movie is $150,000, well then scale back your production budget and your production so that it shows that you only need $75,000 and therefore you're fully funded. There's ways to do it to show that you're fully funded without actually needing to spend the money today. But you don't want to lie. So if you're going to scale back your movie, you have to own up to your promises and really scale back your production. If you get more money in the future and you can bring your production value way back up and add more cost to it, then that's fine. But you got to be truthful when you actually submit your application to them. So the last and final requirement that might be a barrier to entry to a lot of people is that US or nationwide major distributor or major studio. Now this is pretty much archaic because in the past 5 years, the entire distribution system in the movie business has totally flipped upside down. They're struggling just to keep theaters open and operating now because buyers' habits to actually buy and watch content is totally changed. We do mostly streaming now. And now with the streaming channels, there's something like 2,000 streamers out there now. There's a few of the majors, but now within all the streaming, there's different types of business models. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. I'm probably gonna do a video on this sometime later. The different business models are AVOD, which is ad-based video on demand. There's TVOD, which is transaction-based video on demand, which means people can come and buy your movie directly from you if you drive traffic. Like iTunes was like that. Amazon is like that in some movies. There's different platforms. And then the third business model behind it is SVOD, which is subscription-based video on demand. So that's like your Netflix, Hulu. Major studios have SVOD, Disney, Paramount, CBS. Those ones tend to shy away from indie films right now today, but as I said previously in other videos, I think that that's all going to change in about 2 years when there's going to be a mad dash to acquire as much great content that they can. And there's so many of these branches in the armed forces that are archaic and they're not keeping up with the times when it comes to producing. So they're open to new ways and waiving that requirement in which you don't need a major studio or a major distributor behind you when you want to book one of their locations now. You can literally have a small distributor that works very well with tech companies such as these different streamers, the ones that are great for indie movies, even major streamers, and that should be enough as long as you can fill the rest of the requirements, which are pretty much doable as long as you got the skill set to produce. I absolutely recommend to go all out and book those locations because it's going to drive a lot of sales in your trailer when you have shot compositions and fast jump cuts, especially if it's an action movie and you're showing things like that have to do with military or high value locations. It increases your production value and it just overall helps the movie. And it's a lot of fun. And isn't that what this whole business is about? These old systems of Hollywood in which you needed to get into festivals to be able to get the marketing, you either needed a major distributor or a major movie studio behind you to get exhibition in all of the different theaters. That's kind of going by the wayside now. In fact, a lot of distributors that are keeping up with the times are all saying, and producers in general are saying that you no longer, unless you can get into the top 10 festivals in the world, the rest of the festivals at the bottom, like that go underneath those top 10, they're not even worth it because it costs money to go to a festival, to fly, to pay for the flights, the hotel, the food, the submissions, all these ridiculous fees that they always ask for, the fees for deliverables, the fees for marketing, and then you're not going alone when you're bringing people with you and you got to pay for all of them too. So it's easy for a festival to become really expensive just to go to one. And these days, it doesn't even have much of a return on investment because it's not really driving traffic to be able to get the sales, because it's a completely different business model now with all the streaming that's going on. So exhibitors are having a hard time keeping theaters open and operating because that whole model's shifting. We've changed the way we consume content, how we pay for content. Now it's mostly all streaming, and there's different types of business models within the streaming world. There's about 3. I'm going to explain a little bit more of those in another video that has to do with distribution and marketing and how you can do that with your indie film. When it comes to booking these premium locations, it's very important that you have to educate the people who are making the decisions on whether you get access or not about all these changes that are going on. Because if they're waiting for somebody, a producer like us, to come in with Universal or like, I don't know, what's a big one, Paramount or Disney behind them, or a major distributor, that's kind of going by the wayside. And now it's becoming a lot more democratized. And so you can find a smaller distributor that works with the tech companies that have all the streamers that have become big streamers over the past few years, and you can work with them. And if you educate a lot of these decision makers at these locations that book producers like us, you'll be surprised that you can quickly go from a no to a yes just by educating them, and they're open to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Until next time, peace.